Reselling is not for the faint of heart, let me just tell you, because as I share about the rough ride that was the 2 weeks of reselling that we're going to talk about in this video,
you're in for a rough ride.
I mean, if I were not the well-seasoned reseller that I am, I would have quit. Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. I sell used and new clothing and accessories for men, women, and children on reselling platforms like Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, and even my own website, shopbeckypark.com. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how much money I make doing that on the side of my full-time job as a high school choir teacher. I'm going to share with you everything that sold for me in the span of 2 weeks, how much profit I made per item, and you can kind of see for yourself if this is a viable side hustle that you want to look into. I will say this is definitely one of the lowest of lows that I've had as a reseller in the year 2023, but you have to expect those as well as the highs as a reseller. It's never just going to be a consistent amount week to week like it would be if you had a salary from a regular job, but it is dependent on a lot of things, some that are in your control, like how much you're listing, the quality of items that you're listing, and a lot of things are also out of your control. Things like, are people in the country buying the things that you are listing? You know, is there a recession going on? All of those are also a factor when it comes to how your sales look. But let's just jump right in and talk about my sales for the week of November 21st all the way through December 4th. And since in this video we're finishing out, talking about the month of November, I will also share my November sales with you as well. So we're just gonna start with Monday, which was November 21st. I did start off the week like decently strong, and I did move a super old item, which I was very excited about. It was this pair of Steve Madden Legion. That was the style name of this particular pair of boots. Steve Madden is really nice because usually on the inside of the shoe somewhere where they have the shoe size, they will also have the style name. And that's great because if you type that into Google, Steve Madden plus the style name that is on the inside of the shoe, you'll be able to type the style name into Poshmark or eBay and look up comps for that specific shoe. So lots of great things about the fact that they put the name of the shoe right inside of there. But it was this pair of leather stacked heel boots in a size 7.5. And if I remember correctly, they were like kind of ruched on the side. They were definitely a little bit older of a style. And I picked these up 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago actually at this point, at a consignment store in my town during the height of COVID when people were not allowed to go outside and stuff, but they let me shop in their storage unit by myself so that I could get some fresh inventory and so that they could actually make some sales because they had to close their doors since people were, ordered to stay at home. So I bought these way back then. I only had $1.80 into these boots because they let me pay by the box or pay by the bag, depending on what I was purchasing. This particular pair of boots was inside of a box, and so I paid $50 for the box, and my cost of goods for that box came out to $1.80. So I made a net profit on those boots of $18.20, and it only took 2.5 years. Some Steve Madden does really well. These, like I said, were just a bit outdated when it comes to the style, and that's why it's really important that you're staying on top of trends. Just because something is cheap is not reason enough to pick it up. This was a great price to pay for these, but it still didn't justify the fact that I had to hold on to them for 2.5 years. So even when you have the opportunity to buy cheap, if you don't want to hold on to items for forever, the way that I have been holding on to some of mine, you want to make sure that what you are picking up is desirable and will sell in a timely manner. The next sale was this pair of New With Tags Gap Kids tights in a size small. These were actually my daughter's, and she had 2 pairs of tights. One was this pair, which was leopard print, and the other was striped. This pair sold for $10. I did offer discounted shipping of $1.72, and so I made a net profit of $5.33. However, I sent her the wrong pair of tights, and I didn't realize it until she left me, I think it was a 1-star rating, or maybe even 3 stars. I don't know why she would have left 3 stars. It was probably 1. And the reason for the low star rating was item description, and the comment that she left was, "These are not even the right tights." And I feel so bad. I wish she would have just opened a case, but I don't know, maybe she, got around to rating it too late. I don't know, but I feel bad because had I known I had accidentally sent the wrong pair, of course I would have been fine with her opening a case and I would have sent her the right pair back instead if that's what she wanted. But instead she got stuck with the wrong pair, and then I had to go back on my end and end the listing for the wrong pair of tights that I sent her, and I don't know, it was a headache. I feel so bad. I think I was just moving too fast and I just saw new Gap tights and I didn't bother to make sure that it was the right pair. I don't even think I knew in that moment that I had to. So I feel really bad. And I feel like in the last month or two of videos, all of my What Sold videos have been like, I made this mistake, I made this mistake, and then I made that mistake. Like, a lot of you probably just think I'm a really crappy reseller. And in some aspects, maybe I am. I don't know. The next thing to sell was this Joie Porsche fringe trim speckled jacket with pockets, and it was in a size small. I thought this was really beautiful, but it just goes to show that Joie is struggling. I don't know. I think that their pieces are beautiful, but their pieces do not move very quickly. I'm sure part of it has to do with the fact that you can find Joie pretty easily at Nordstrom Rack for pretty cheap, and also there is a lot of Joie on reselling platforms to begin with. So this sold for $58. I had $10 into it, and I still made a great profit of $36.40, but that has been listed for over a year now. So Joie is definitely one of those brands. It is hard for me to leave behind when I find it because I think it is so beautiful, but I do have to be much stricter on myself about looking up comps for Joie pieces before I allow myself to put them in my cart. The next item to sell was over on Mercari, and it was a piece by Liz Lange. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but Liz Lange Maternity, which I believe is a maternity line sold at Target. It was this white knit sweater pullover tunic, and it was in a maternity size small. This actually sold for $15. I had $2 into it as part of a buyout, I believe. I did not pick this up myself at a thrift store, but I think someone gave it to me, and so I paid $2 for it, and I made $10.56. This is not the kind of stuff that I, would pick up at a thrift store, but because it showed up in my house as part of, people giving me stuff that they don't wear anymore, I just went ahead and listed it. And actually, it did sell really fast, but it's still not really worth picking up for a $10 profit. But if you have maternity clothes lying around in your own home, I say list it. Even though you may not make a huge profit, I do think it's going to sell pretty quickly. I know if I had known about reselling and buying used clothes on platforms like Poshmark and eBay, I so would have bought all of my maternity clothes with my 2 kids online. I would have, but I didn't know about Poshmark and eBay back then. I didn't know that it was a thing that you buy used clothing. And so I just remember dropping a fortune on clothes so that I could still, be presentable at work, but I had to spend so much money on maternity clothes. And there is a huge market out there for sure of women who are pregnant and don't want to spend too much money on clothes that they know they're only going to wear for a few months. So if you've got maternity clothes at home, even if you're not going to make a ton of money off of those items, I say list them. On Tuesday on eBay, I sold this J. Jill red plaid checked midi rayon short sleeve dress in a size medium. I picked this up at a local consignment store. They were having a birthday sale, and you would just fill a little shopping bag and the bag would be $25. And so my average cost of goods per item only came out to $2.52. So this dress sold for $30 and it was promoted at 3%. And so I made a net profit of $21.91. I used to turn my nose up at J. Jill all the friggin' time. I would see it, and even if I thought it was cute, I'd be like, no way. This is a mall brand. But it sells really well. Typically the bigger the size, the better, but it is typically a pretty fast flip. People are looking for it. It sells well. So I will definitely continue to pick up this brand, especially if the item in question is on trend and if I'm not having to pay too much for it, and especially if it is made of, nicer materials like linen, or I don't know that I've ever seen a silk J. Jill piece, but I have seen linen. So linen, and even this, it was rayon and maybe cotton, and I still got it, and I thought I did pretty well with it. The next sale was over on Depop. It was this vintage Woolrich navy and beige wool blend crew neck sweater in a men's size medium. This sold for $40, and I got it as part of a Fleek wholesale box. And some of you asked me in the comment section of my last What Sold video to leave a link for Fleek down in the description below, because in last week's What Sold video, I sold so many pieces from that box, so many vintage sweaters. And so I will leave that affiliate link down in the description below in this video. I'm sorry that I didn't do it last time, but I will have that down in the description for you. Fleek is a vintage wholesale site. They kind of describe themselves as eBay for vintage sellers, and a lot of the sellers on Fleek are selling vintage lots. For example, this was a box of 25 men's vintage sweaters. So you'll find a lot of stuff like that on Fleek. And what's really cool too is with a lot of the Fleek sellers, you can actually set up a time to video conference with them, and you can pick out exactly what it is that you want from their inventory. So you're not getting like a mystery box. I ended up going down the mystery box route, but it wasn't even really a mystery box because they showed in the listing all of the sweaters that I would be getting. So it was because I saw the sweaters that I was like, yes, please, I want that box. And I have been doing really well with it. So they gave me a discount on the box that I purchased since I was going to be talking about their company on my YouTube channel. So I only had $1.82 into each of those 25 sweaters. And so I made a net profit on that Woolrich sweater, even after paying for shipping, of $23.85. And then I did do a Whatnot show this night, and it was with a women's bulk mixed rescue box. I think I had gotten maybe 50 pounds. I think it was just 50 pounds. It was so long ago. But I got a box to open on Whatnot, and the last time I did this, the box was amazing. I got like Veronica Beard, I got Elizabeth James, and not like the Kohl's Elizabeth and James, but like a really great jacket. I can't even remember, but I got such great pieces in that box. And so I was hoping it was going to be like that this time around. It was not. And that is why ThredUp is one of the things that I have sworn off for the year 2023. I'm done giving them my money. And if you want to see more about how my reselling business is going to evolve and change in the year 2023, I will have that video linked right here. But I did purchase this women's box from them, and I sold 18 items out of it live on Whatnot, and those items sold for $165. Now, I had $152.60 into that box. I don't remember how much it cost before taxes and fees and all that kind of stuff, but somehow it came out to $152.60. So I actually haven't like made my money back on that box yet. However, at this point now I have, because if you take the profit that I made from that sale, which was $130.59 once you take out Whatnot's fees, I'm still short about like $22 in terms of like actually making up the amount that the box cost me. However, I have made up that difference since then with items that I listed from the box after I did the unboxing. So I have broken even at this point. I'm not going to stand to make a ton of money on that box. I'll be lucky if I make $150, $200 on that box. And that's why, I don't know, for me, I'm done with ThredUp. We are broken up. On Wednesday, November 23rd, I sold this many things. And on Thursday, November 24th, which was that Thanksgiving? I think that was Thanksgiving. I sold this many things. So I was not very thankful on Thanksgiving. I'm just joking. I had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I was very thankful, and I am so very thankful for so many things. I had no sales to be thankful for, is what I mean. But moving on to Friday, which was Black Friday, the 25th of November, I had one Depop sale. It was a great sale, and it did come from the Fleek box. It was this vintage Roundtree and York 3D knit textured sweater in a size medium. I did use words like Cosby, and I used words like Coogee in the description, not in the listing title, because I don't like to, and I don't even know if you can, I don't like to put two brand names in a listing title because people might get confused and think that you're actually selling Coogee when what you're selling is Roundtree in New York. And so I will put terms like Coogee inspired in the description, but I would never put that, I don't think, in the description itself so as to not confuse people. And in fact, on eBay, I don't think you can even put two brand names in the listing title. I know I've tried that with like Cole Haan shoes that have Nike Air in them. Because it's Cole Haan and Nike, they won't let you do it. So you just put, information about Nike Air in the description. So I sold this sweater for $70. I had $1.82 into it because that was my average cost of goods for that Fleek box. So I made a profit on that vintage sweater of $50. $8.03. This is why now when I go to the thrift store, the men's sweater section is like one of the first places I go, because I'm hoping I'm going to find more stuff like this. Even if it's not Coogee, it can still do really, really well. Moving on to Saturday, which was November 26th, the first thing to sell, actually the two items that sold this day were both from Fleek. So the first item was this vintage Brooks Brothers blue striped 100% Shetland new wool sweater in a men's size extra large. I love selling Brooks Brothers. I was a little apprehensive about how vintage Brooks Brothers would do, and the answer is that it sold pretty well. It sold on Poshmark for $50. I had $1.82 into it. I made a profit of $38.18, and $50 was my asking price, so it just sold outright for my full asking price. The next sweater to sell was over on Depop. It was this vintage 90s Bugle Boy Co. geometric print striped sweater in a size large. This one was super fun. If I remember correctly, it did have like a decent amount of pilling, just some wear because, you know, it's an older piece, but it still sold for $45 on Depop. That is with me paying for shipping. I only had $1.82 into it, and so I made a profit of $28.25. And believe it or not, you know, even as we move on to Sunday, November 27th, that was not the last of my Fleek box sales. I have more sweaters that have sold in this week from that Fleek box. So it was a good box, I'm telling you. But on Sunday, November 27th, the first thing to sell was on Poshmark, and it was this Banana Republic black 100% merino extra fine wool ribbed scarf. It was a men's piece, a men's accessory, and it sold for $20. I think I had it listed for $25. It sold for $20. I had $2 into it because it was something that a friend of mine gave me before he moved out of town, and I gave him some money for each item, so it came out to about $2 per piece. So I made a net profit of $14 on that. Personally, I hate photographing scarves. Like, I don't know how to photograph them. So let me know if you have any tips for photographing scarves and what you do. I try to put them on a hanger and they just look awful. So I don't know. Let me know if you have any tips. The next thing to sell was this vintage Van Heusen denim button-up midi skirt in a size 10. I put Y2K in the listing title. I was not like a huge fan of this. I was not super excited about it, but it came to me in a wholesale pallet that I had purchased off of a reseller. And I was just trying to list everything that I could from that box so that I could make the maximum amount of profit from it. So it ended up selling for $20, and I had $3.92 into it because that was my average cost of goods per sellable item. And so I did make a profit of $12.08. I just really was not feeling that skirt. I don't know. I don't really like the brand Van Heusen. You know, I see it all the time at the thrift store. I pass on it. But I said to myself, you know what? This has a chance of selling because it is very reminiscent of that Y2K, like just these weird denim skirt. I don't know. And I was right. It sold. The next thing to sell was this, okay, I learned how to say this correctly, but I feel like I'm still going to butcher it. Is it Kalia? I always want to say Kalia, but I think it's Kalia, and it's Carrie Underwood's athletic line. It's sold at like Dick's Sporting Goods and maybe some other places, but it is this pink mock neck high-low sweater in a size medium. You know, I put words like athletic and activewear in the title. This sold for $29. I had $3.75 into it. I think I picked this up at a Goodwill, but maybe it was a local consignment store. I don't remember, but it hasn't been listed for very long. I had $3.75 into it. I did offer discounted shipping on this one. This was actually a sale that was made because of PosherVA, which is a Chrome extension that does things for me like share my closet, send out offers to likers. So I have it set up to send out offers, you know, after 5 minutes have passed since the item was liked, and it worked with this item. Someone got the offer, they accepted it, so I made a profit of $17.73. I don't pick up a lot of Kalia anymore. I used to pick it up more than I do because it used to sell a little bit better, but I thought this was really beautiful, which is why I picked it up, and I loved the big bold pop of color, and I was right to pick it up, I think. I'm really happy with that profit, and especially happy with how quickly it flipped. The next thing to sell was over on eBay, and it was another Banana Republic scarf, but that scarf they said was too big, and so they returned it. I don't know how a scarf is too big for you, but that was their reasoning for wanting to return it. no questions asked. I just let them return it and it is relisted now. The next for real sale was this vintage Mac Sam blue geometric retro print sweater in a size extra large for men. This was part of the Fleek box and it was one of the pieces that I was like less excited about, mainly because I believe it was made of 100% acrylic and that's not really a material that I get excited about. I don't really like wearing acrylic. I feel like it's really itchy and it's just not a very nice product, but it still sold on eBay for $34.99. I had $1.82 into it because it was part of the Fleek box, and so I made a profit of $28.29. The last thing to sell this week was this Beverly Hills Polo Club tan full zip utility vest in a size extra large. It was embroidered. It had like a patch here and it sold for $15. It was promoted at 3%. I think I got that at that consignment store that I talked about when I shopped in their storage unit during COVID. So I believe I had 80 cents into it and I made a net profit of $12.17. Tell me in the comments below, do you wear vests? I have a vest. I have a Lululemon vest that I got on like super clearance. I wear it maybe once every year and a half. And I don't know, like the people in my life that are closest to me do not wear vests. My sister-in-law wears vests, I think. And I think one of my best friends does. But I don't know very many people that wear vests very often. I work at a high school. I don't see any vests on those kids or on my colleagues. And yet I'm such a sucker for picking up vests when I'm at the store. Why? Why do I do that? Like, people in my life are not wearing vests, and yet here I am picking up vests all the time. Let me know down in the comments. I do sell them, so there are people out there that wear them and buy them, but not as many as I think. Not as many that warrant the amount of vests that I pick up. Let me know. So for the week, I won't bore you with how much I made, in net profit and once you factor in shipping and fees and all that kind of stuff. But I'll give you kind of a shortened version. So on Poshmark, I sold 7 items for a gross sales amount of $212. But once you factor in all of the things, my cost of goods, platform fees, shipping, my net profit actually came out to $141.92. On eBay, I sold 3 items. Yikes, that is so sad. And that was for a gross sales amount of $79.99. But in real life, my net profit after fees and cost of goods came out to $62.37. I sold 1 item on Mercari for $15 and my net profit was $10.56. 3 items on Depop. More Depop sales than Mercari. This is why I love to cross list. Even though Depop was so slow going at first, I think I was listing there pretty consistently for about 3 to 4 months before I ever had a sale. But once I got that sale and as I stayed consistent on the platform, I started to make more and more sales. And I think what really has supercharged my Depop account recently has been that Fleek box. And I'm grateful that I put some work into my Depop store before I got the Fleek box because I was able to grow some trust. I have some feedback, I have some ratings, and they're all good. And I've made some sales. And then I listed a bunch of these really great vintage sweaters, really like the perfect pieces for Depop. And because I'm not just like brand new to Depop, but I have some history there now, I think that's why I was able to sell a lot of these Fleek sweaters over on Depop. And you guys know, if you've been watching my channel, that I use a program called List Perfectly to cross-list all of my listings to their pertinent platforms. I love it. I also use it to manage my inventory. It's where I keep track of how much I paid for items, where I picked up items, when I picked up items, how much items sold for, all that good stuff. And it gives you some sales analytics too, which I love. So I'm just so thankful for programs like List Perfectly that allow me to explore platforms like Depop that I really never would have done had it not been for a service that allows me to cross-list as quickly as I do. So 3 sales on Depop for a gross sales amount of $155, but my net profit over there was $102.13. And then on Whatnot, I did sell 18 items, but I'm saying that I didn't make a profit this week on that box because really with that Whatnot sale, what I did was break even. I paid for the cost of that box, and now from here on out, everything that I sell from that box is going to end up being net profit in my pocket. But man, I sold 18 items from that box just to not make a profit. So there you go. And that's why I'm saying bye-bye to ThredUp. So in total for the week, I sold 14 items for a gross sales amount of $461.99, but my net profit came out to $316.89. So let's move into the next week, which was the end of November and beginning of December. Now, one thing that I noticed about this week was I did have a lot of quick flips, things that I listed and they sold right away. And I sold some really great BOLOs, I feel like, but it was still kind of a rough week, as you'll see. So the first day that we'll talk about is November 28th, which was a Monday. On Poshmark, I sold this pair of Merrell Pace Glove 2 Vibram Trail running shoes in a size 8. These shoes I did pick up at that consignment store for their birthday sale, so my average cost of goods was $2.52, and those shoes sold for $34 with discounted shipping because of PosherVA. They sent out offers to likers for me. Someone accepted, and I made a net profit of $22.96. Of all of the like outdoor shoe brands that are out there, you know, there's brands like Merrell, there's brands like Vask, there's brands obviously like Columbia and the North Face. I don't pick up as much Merrell as I used to. I would rather pick up most of those other brands that I just named. Even Columbia, I've slowed down on a lot. Merrell has been sitting for me more and more and selling for less and less money. However, because of the word Vibram that I was able to put in the listing title of these shoes, because they had that Vibram sole, because it is something that Merrell had to pay extra for, you know, just to be able to use this patented to be able to use this patented to be able to use this patented technology. And as a result, you can ask for a little bit more. It'll typically sell for a little bit more. And I made a profit of $22.96. And it sold for $34. I made a profit of $22.96. On eBay, I sold another pair of shoes. It was this pair of new without the box Clark's May Marigold brown leather bendables slip-on shoes in a size 10M. That's a mouthful. These I got at a garage sale, and I got them because Clark's is not a sexy brand. It's not an exciting brand, but it is a dependable brand. It is what we call a bread and butter brand. You know, it's gonna do what you need it to. It's gonna make you money. You're just not gonna be excited about it. Although, you know, it's not the best analogy because I do get super excited about good bread and good butter. But this is not even the good stuff. This is like grocery store wheat bread. You know, that's what Clark's is, wheat bread. So these sold for $30. They were promoted at 3%. I paid $2.89 for them. That was my average cost of goods for that particular garage sale that I went to 2 summers ago, so not a quick flip. And I made a profit of $22.27 on those. The next thing to sell, this is the first BOLO brand that I will talk about in this video, and also first quick flip. So it was actually 2 items that sold on eBay back to back, and I knew that they had to have gone to the same buyer because they were 2 shirts by the brand Inhabit, both in the same size. So the first shirt was by Inhabit. It was this blue long sleeve Henley shirt in a size small, made of 100% cotton, and the second shirt was the same exact shirt except that this one was in gray. Obviously, I found both of these at the same Goodwill, just right next to each other. And the tag looked a little intriguing to me, but also the quality seemed really nice. And I believe it was made somewhere cool, like either made in the US or Peru, or it was not made in China, but it was made somewhere where usually if I see Peru, sometimes Turkey, but usually Peru. If I see that something was made in Peru, it forces me to pause and at least look up comps because oftentimes that means it's going to be good. And this brand, while I could not find very many comps on this brand, the comps that I could find were good. So I listed each of these really simple, really lightweight Henley shirts for $39.99, and they each sold for my full asking price within 2 to 3 days of being listed. So that's how I know that this is a BOLO brand. I imagine if you find more substantial pieces than just these like lightweight Henley shirts, they would go for more, but Inhabit, that's a brand that you want to remember. I had $19.98 into those 2 items. I did pay up for them because when I saw that comps were pretty good, I was like, you know what? Let me just pay the $9.99 to pay for the experience of what it's like to have this brand in my store, in my Poshmark closet. And I'm glad that I did because now I know in the future, Inhabit, pick it up. I still made a profit even after my kind of higher cost of goods, especially for something like a Henley. I still made a net profit of $51.82 on those two pieces, which comes out to a little bit more than $25 a piece of profit per Henley shirt. That's pretty good, again, for a Henley shirt that you could get for like $8 at Walmart if it were a Walmart brand. The next thing to sell was this new without tags Nick and Zoe floral watercolor pencil skirt in a women's size 6. It was lined, it had good stretch to it, and it sold for $35 to my best eBay friend, Ricardo. You know, I still don't know to this day why Ricardo is as wonderful and as kind and as generous with me as he is, but he is. Like, he just looks out for me, and he will randomly make full price purchases in my eBay store, always like as gifts for others in his life, always new with tags items, I noticed too, but he is just so wonderful. And the other week he messaged me probably twice on eBay to let me know that I had accidentally listed a couple items twice. I had duplicate listings, and the reason for that is because my internet was being so spotty. I thought I had listed something completely all the way through, but because I didn't see, you know, it go to like the final, hey, you've listed a new item on eBay page, I just assumed that it didn't list, and so I started over again, and therefore I had multiples of some listings. And he reached out and let me know in the kindest way possible too. Like, there's also room for people to do that kind of stuff and be a jerk about it, but you can't get mad at Ricardo because he's amazing. So he would just let me know in like the most gentle and amazing way possible that I was being a dummy again and I had made some grave errors. So I was able to delete those duplicates, and I don't know, he's just so wonderful, and I'm so thankful for him. So Ricardo, thank you so much. I just don't know what I'd do without you. He also sent me a Christmas card, and it was just so sweet. Ricardo, thank you. So this sold for $35. I had $3.92 into it because it was part of that wholesale palette that I had purchased from a reseller, and so I made a net profit on that skirt of $25.38. On Tuesday, which was November 29th on Poshmark, this I'm calling another bolo, and I'm calling it another quick flip. It was this NBD black Evan, I think Evan is the style name, maxi gown. Like, it wasn't even just like a dress, it was literally a gown. It had a huge slit in it. I also put the words formal and elegant in the listing title, and it was in a women's size small. I usually don't have the best luck with this brand. I tend to sit on it, but it was a no-brainer for me to pick this up because it was at that consignment store as part of their birthday sale, and I knew that I was going to have a super low cost of goods into it, so I didn't look up comps or anything like that while I was at the store. I just picked it up. I paid $2.52 for it. I got it home, I photographed it, and then I sat down to list it and did some research to see how I should price this, and I was shocked. Comps were really good for this particular dress, and so I listed it for $100. It sold for $100, and I made a net profit of $77.01 on that item, on this NBD dress. So not all NBD moves quickly. Not all NBD will make you a lot of money. I guess these longer gowns with these slits, however, you should pick them up if you see them at the thrift store or wherever it is that you source. The next thing to sell was over on eBay. It was this Calvin Klein black wool blend pea coat in a men's small. It was double-breasted, and it sold for $45. It was promoted at 3%. I only had $2 into it because it was something that that friend of mine who moved out of town gave me, and so I made a net profit of $35.18. This is another thing that I don't super love selling because I feel like there are a lot of pea coats listed on reselling platforms by brands like Calvin Klein or brands like Tommy Hilfiger or Izod or what have you, you know, just kind of these brands that you can find at like a Macy's or other department stores. But they always do end up selling, and they always do end up doing okay. So it was worth it, especially given the fact that it was essentially given to me for free. The next day of sales that we'll talk about is Wednesday, November 30th on Poshmark. Ooh, I was not excited about these. I sold this pair of American Bozzy, that's the brand name, red tuxedo stripe high-waisted casual joggers in a size medium. The style of them was okay, but this brand, I don't even know where you buy this brand. I imagine it's like a Ross or TJ Maxx or something, but this brand just does not comp well. So I had them listed for like maybe $20, and that was kind of reaching. I got a $14 offer on these on Poshmark, and I was like, yes, please, you can have it for $14. And I had $1.02 into those because it was part of a reseller buyout when I bought someone's reselling inventory off of them once they decided that they didn't want to resell anymore. And so I only had $1.02 into it, which is the only reason they were even in my possession, was just because I bought out all that stuff. So I made a net profit of $10.03. On eBay, I sold this Wild Fable crochet lace cropped spaghetti strap top in a size medium. It was lined. It was very outside the norm of what I would typically pick up, but I just really liked kind of the like boho 70s retro vibe of this top, and I knew I was paying so little for it. I got it at a local consignment store and they were having like a huge clearance sale, so I only paid $1.75 for that item. It sold for $11.90, and that was me sending out offers to watchers on eBay, so I made a profit of $8.06. That's not the kind of profit I'm looking to make, but also like I'm okay with every once in a while paying very little for an item that I just think is fun and cute. Plus, this sold really quickly, and I wanted to test the idea that Wild Fable sells really well, because this is something that I've heard a lot of resellers say. They say they pick up Wild Fable all the time. Wild Fable, by the way, is a house brand that is sold at Target. So it's a Target clothing brand. I don't have experience selling it. So I just wanted to see. It did sell quickly. It did not sell for a lot, but also this was a teeny tiny crop top. So I still need to do a little bit more firsthand research as far as selling Wild Fable goes. And I do think also that Wild Fable in larger sizes does better than, the smaller sizes. The next thing to sell was another J. Jill piece. It was this J. Jill Fit Black Rhodes crew neck long sleeve tee in a size extra large. Part of me feels like maybe I listed this too low, or I was just too quick to send out offers to watchers, because this sold, I think, the day that I listed it. It sold for $17.90. And that's how I know that it was an offer to watcher, because I will send out offers to watchers ending in 90 cents, because I want to know, oh, I made this sale as a result of sending an offer to a watcher. So I will always send it with 90 cents at the end. I had $3.92 into this item. It was part of the wholesale pallet that I bought. So I made a net profit of $10.99. Not a huge profit, but what this sale taught me is that even basic pieces by J. Jill will sell, and they will sell quickly. And it affirmed my belief that J. Jill is a great brand and that I did the right thing by deciding to start selling that brand on my reselling platforms. So that was the month of November. Let me talk to you about November sales before we talk about the last 4 days of this week, which is the start of December. But in the month of November, I made a net profit of $2,594.69, which is roughly $800 less than I should have made that month in order to meet my monthly goal. But if you watch my channel in 2022, you know that I was not really meeting my goals month to month. And that's okay. I've made peace with it. And believe it or not, because I'm ridiculous, in the year 2023, my goal is $45,000 of net profit in reselling versus the $40,000 that I had set for myself in the year 2022. And why did I do that to myself? I don't know. And by the way, that video that I made about reselling in 2023, I will have that video linked down in the description below as well. And that's the video where I shared my goals for the year 2023 and how I plan on meeting them. So it wasn't the best month for me, the month of November. I can't say that December was much better either. And a lot of that is because I wasn't being the best reseller. I wasn't listing very much. But November was pretty in line with what the rest of the year looked like. So year to date, at the end of November, I was sitting at a profit of $25,676.59. So let's keep talking about the rest of this week, and then I'll also wrap up the numbers for this week that we're talking about. So on December 1st, which was a Thursday, on Poshmark, I sold this pair of shoes by the brand Track, and Track is spelled with a Q, by Allegria. The style name was Karma, but Karma was with a Q. Q Sport Walker Gray Chasm shoes in a size 9.5 for women. These sold for $34, and I picked them up for $6.99, I believe, at a local Goodwill. I made a profit of $18.49. I had never seen this like diffusion line of Allegria Track. I'd never seen that before. I just wanted to see how it did. And when I had looked up comps at the thrift store, they appeared to be okay, about in line with what I sold my shoes for. So, if I see it again in the future, depending on on the price, I may pick it up. But I do like selling shoes by comfort brands like Allegria, by brands like Dansko and Sanita. I do think that they always move. Sometimes they take a little bit longer to move than I would like for them to. These I think I probably had listed for a couple months. Not too bad. On Mercari, I sold this new with tags Banana Republic Mari Meko Collection Kivette. That was the style name of this sweater. Polka dot sweater in a size small. This was a super lightweight, kind of like last minute purchase that I did as part of that birthday sale that I talked about at that consignment store. I actually love Mari Meko, and I think that in the past I have mistakenly said that it is a Japanese brand. It is not. I think, okay, let's just look it up right now so that I don't give you the wrong information. Again, I want to say either Swedish or I want to say Scandinavian.
A few moments later.
Okay, so I just looked it up and it says Finnish design. So yeah, Scandinavian. It is saying that Marameko's factories are located in Finland. Yeah, so Finnish, it looks like. Scandinavian, not Japanese, like very different. But I really like Marimekko prints. The first bedding that my husband and I purchased together, we actually put it on our registry from Crate & Barrel. It was a collaboration that Marimekko had done with Crate & Barrel, and it was this beautiful like floral design, and I feel like I can spot a Marimekko print from a mile away. I just love Marimekko so much. So even though this was a much older piece from Banana Republic, and you can tell how old a Banana Republic piece is by looking at the tag right underneath their care tag, there's usually like a style number and then also the date that the item was being sold at Banana Republic. And I don't remember exactly how long ago the sweater's from, but it's from a while ago. So I knew it was an older piece, but I still picked it up because it was new with tags and because I adore Marimekko. Now, this is literally just a polka dot sweater, but we're going to say that it was special because Finnish and Scandinavian and all those things. So it sold for $25, which I kind of was not expecting. I actually wasn't even expecting it to sell for that much. I only had $1.20 into it because this one I just got during a clearance sale at a local consignment store. So I still made a profit of $19.97 on that. On Friday, which was December 2nd, on eBay, I sold this new with tags Under Armour offshore semi-fitted heat gear fishing shirt in a size small. This I purchased forever ago at the bins in Indianapolis. I paid $1.27 for that shirt. That was my average cost of goods for that bins trip. It sold for $29.99, and so I made a net profit of $23.79. You know, it's hard to pass up on new with tags items when you're at the bins. I knew that this would sell eventually, but it has been like at least half a year that this has been listed. And then on Depop, another very quick flip. It was another item from the Fleek box. It was this vintage Wimbledon collection by Racket Club purple geometric print sweater in a men's size extra large. This sold for $40. I only had $1.82 into it, so I made a net profit of $24.85. In case you're wondering, I do still have just a handful of those Fleek sweaters left, and it's mainly the sweaters that I have overpriced because I just think they're too cool, and maybe I will wear them myself a few times before I let go of them. Or two, because they're flawed. There were a handful of flawed sweaters in the box, and the majority of them have sold. I think I only have like one or two left that have flaws. So I think that's the reason why the sweaters that haven't sold yet haven't sold, but I do have some. On December 3rd, which was a Saturday, 0 sales. I told you, it was a rough 2 weeks. And then on Sunday, which was December 4th, on Poshmark, I sold this vintage, the limited black velvet midi skirt in a size 4. I put Y2K in the title again because it really was from that era. You could tell. It sold for $21 with discounted shipping because of PosherVA. I had $3 into that from a women's ThredUp rescue box, I believe. And so I made a net profit of $12.08. On Mercari, I sold this pair of BKE Peyton Universal Fit Ankle Tall Distressed Skinny Jeans in a size 27. These sold for $28. I had $2.52 into those from the local consignment store's birthday sale. And so I made a net profit of $21.37 on those. BKE is another brand, just like J. Jill, that I used to pass on all the time. I was like, no thank you, no BK for me. It actually does pretty well. I believe it's a denim brand sold at Buckle. It does sell well. There is a market for it. There are people who are searching this brand out. You know, they know how it fits on them. Yeah, it's not my personal aesthetic, but it's going to make me money. So I'm going to go ahead and pick it up for $2.52 and I'm going to list it. And then on this day, I did go to Plato's Closet and I sold them 33 items for $76.63. These were not items that I was in the least excited about. And these were not items that I had listed and then pulled because they were stale. I rarely do that. If I've gone through the trouble to photograph and list an item, it is staying on my platform until it sells, even if it takes 4 years, which on this channel, I have talked about items that have sat for 4 years. But these are items that I got maybe free from friends, things that I found around the house, things that were my own pieces that I used to wear. These are not old, stale listings. They're just things that I really have no desire to photograph and list myself. So $76.63 that I was able to put towards better inventory for my reselling business. Let's talk about my numbers. On Poshmark, I sold 5 things this week. So sad. I think the week before, how many had I sold? 7. These are sad small numbers for me because I have over 1,000 listings on Poshmark. And I know someone said in a comment on my previous What Sold video, they said, can you get in the habit of saying how many active listings you have? And I forgot to check exactly how many active listings I have at the moment, but it is over 1,000. And to have only sold 5 of those items for the week? Ooh, boy, that is rough. So I sold 5 items for a gross sales amount of $203. And again, we won't talk about my cost of goods for those items and how much I paid for shipping and fees, but my net profit for those 5 items was $140.57. On eBay, I sold 8 items for a gross sales amount of $249.77. But once you factor in all of the fees, all of my cost of goods, that total drops to $177.49. On Mercari, I sold 2 items for a gross sales amount of $53, and my net profit was $31.44. On Depop, I sold 1 item for a gross sales amount of $40, and my net profit was $24.85. And at Plato's, I sold 33 items for $76.63 of profit. So in total, I'm not going to count Plato's as far as number of items is concerned, but I sold 16 items for a gross sales amount of $622.40. Once you factor in fees and shipping, that total drops to $442.14. My cost of goods for those 16 items was $67.79. And so my net profit for the week was only $374.35. And just to give you an idea of how rough these 2 weeks combined were, even combined, I did not make my weekly goal of $833.33. Even combined, I fell short of that. So it was truly a rough week, and I can't even promise that the weeks get that much better. But if you want to see what my future weeks look like, make sure to subscribe. I do a What Sold video, or sometimes 2 because I'm a little backed up right now. But I do these What Sold videos once a week because I think that there's a lot of value in them. I think there's a lot of value in seeing what is actually selling for other resellers out there. And if you enjoyed this video, if you learned anything, don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want more What Sold content, I will link a playlist right here just filled to the brim with What Sold videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!